Joining us now for more is CBN terrorism analyst Eric Stakelbeck. Eric, some charge that ending data bulk collection puts society at risk, but others say it's never led to one arrest. What's your take?
You know, this is a very difficult issue, Ephraim. On one hand, absolutely. This program has been essential to infiltrating and breaking up Islamic terrorist networks here in the United States. Maybe it didn't break up a specific plot that we know about, but that's not really the point of this program. The main point is identifying patterns and networks and patterns of communication between Islamic radicals and any kind of radical in the country. So that's on one hand. And again, names and addresses of people are not compiled as part of this program. On the other hand, I do understand people's hesitancy. They feel it's giving the government a lot of power. I think the main issue here, Ephraim, is a lack of trust in the Obama administration. You've had the IRS scandals. You've had scandals with the Department of Justice going after journalists. You've had a number of scandals, Benghazi, where there was dishonesty from this administration. So I think at the end of the day, the pushback against this program is coming from people who just don't trust the Obama administration to have this kind of power. But again, on the flip side, you know, I talk to national security, people in the national security community all the time, Ephraim, here in Washington, people I respect who are no fans of President Obama, who say, look, Eric, this program is essential, it's effective, and we need it, especially now as this homegrown jihad phenomenon we've talked so much about here on CBN News, led by ISIS, is growing stronger and stronger.
Well, not having this program certainly creates a gap. Do you think that terrorists could be exploiting this gap in surveillance right now?
I do, Ephraim. Look, I think, number one, it's got to give them heart in term or encouragement, the terrorists. They see us having a squabble again over national security and how to fight this war against radical Islam. It's a war the Obama administration won't even acknowledge exists, so it's a semantic war. But now on the ground, they see Republicans divided as well. So I think that's encouraging to the bad guys. And yes, if you don't have this program in place, all of a sudden some of those communications, some of those conversations are unbeknownst to our intelligence community. We've had several plots. We've had 41 U.S. citizens, Ephraim, arrested since January 1st alone. That's what, 5-6 months already, not even 6 months. 41 American citizens arrested on Islamic terror charges, the overwhelming majority related to ISIS. We've had dozens and dozens of terrorist plots broken up here in the U.S. since 9/11, and a lot of the intelligence compiled by this program aids in identifying these networks. And people are one radical is talking to another radical, then they're reaching out to another person. You can identify patterns and identify different cells that are forming. Maybe not break up a plot. We've had the Boston bombings, etc., obviously. But man, you can at least see the pattern, see who's talking to who, and if they all share, say, a common affinity for ISIS, it's very helpful for us to have that information and be able to identify those radicals.
Eric, Senator Rand Paul is taking a lot of heat for blocking reauthorization of this program, but he says he is protecting freedom. Who's right?
Look, I don't agree with Rand Paul on foreign policy, Ephraim. Not only this, where I think he's off base, not only this program, but Iran. He said last week that I think hawkish Republicans created ISIS. A lot of things. He's a very isolationist kind of guy. I don't really agree with him on foreign policy in general. On this program, look, I don't think he has the facts, or it seems like he doesn't have all the facts. I don't think he gets it when it comes to national security and the severity of the threat we're up against. He's kind of similar in some ways in the foreign policy, national security realm, Ephraim, to the hard left, the left-wing side of the aisle, who really use many of the same arguments that Rand Paul uses. So tough to figure him out when it comes to national security.
You did mention distrust of the administration. If we put that aside, is there a line between protecting freedom and protecting society?
I think there is, absolutely. And the climate now is so different, Ephraim, with the rise since 9/11. This is a different beast than we've really ever had to contend with, where we have, according to our own FBI director, in all 50 U.S. states, we have a network of ISIS supporters and sympathizers. That's our FBI director, Ephraim. He also said we have potentially thousands of Americans following ISIS right now online. We have Americans going overseas to join ISIS, and when they come back, they could carry out attacks here. This Islamic terror threat is different from anything we've seen. And the rise of ISIS, Ephraim, I can't stress this enough, has just put this all into overdrive. The plots against America. Now they have these homegrown supporters, someone in their basement getting turned on to ISIS online. They go into a shopping mall, God forbid, and start shooting. This is the new climate we're in right now. So it's a very difficult thing. No easy answers here. But I do believe this NSA program is overall helpful in fighting against this threat. And not only is there a lack of trust in the Obama administration and its transparency, but you know what, Ephraim? I believe President Obama has not done a good job explaining this program at all. He should have given a major speech laying out why we need this program, how it's effective, how it is not violating people's privacy. He hasn't done that, so that's also made people suspicious.
We know that the House has produced the USA Freedom Act, and the Senate could vote on it relatively soon. What can you tell us about this bill?
Well, look, I think it's something that does need to be passed. It kind of echoes a lot of the things we're talking about, Ephraim, in terms of, monitoring potential Islamic terrorists. So I think it's kind of an extension of what we're talking about with the NSA program. And look, I'm a guy who is opposed to big government as anyone, who is very skeptical of big government. But again, I can't stress enough that people I speak to, who I respect, who really know the legal ins and outs of this as well. I'm not a lawyer, I'll be the first one to admit, but people who really get the legal ins and outs of this, Ephraim, are saying, look, we need it. People have their ear to the ground in the national security community, both on the right and on the other side of the aisle, are both saying we need this. And if we don't have it, especially in a climate, again, now, where ISIS is so determined to strike us on American soil, I fear we may be leaving ourselves open.
All right, this is one to continue to watch. CBN terrorism analyst Eric Stakelbeck, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ephraim.